Princess City for time now, I'm not in the time. We'll call them, they said, did the preacher show you in? I'm sorry, don't be you. We call the meeting order on January 14th at the Public Works meeting. We'll stand for invocation, pledge of allegiance. Mr. President, go on.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the many blessings that you've given us. We are so thankful that you are our Lord, our God, our help in times of trouble. Thank you that you are our source of strength, Father, when we need peace, Father. Thank you, Lord, this morning at this meeting that your hand will be upon the council. Thank you for direction. Thank you for leadership. Thank you for peace. We pray for Mayor Wolf this morning, and I just ask you that your hand be upon him as well. Thank you for the many blessings that you've given us, and we give you all glory, honor, and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Linderman,
Here.
Mr. Adams,
Here.
Ms. Hamilton. Here. Mr. Smith,
Here.
and for the record, Mayor Wolf is absent today.
Our first item on the, is the consent agenda for our minutes on September the 5th to December the 10th. Have to review them, went over them.
Yep.
Motion.
Good.
Good.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Do we have to call the roll for that? No, I didn't. Our next thing on our regular agenda is Mr. Sandy Walker to find Brian Hunt for engineer recognition.
Morning, council. Doesn't happen too often in a small town like this, but due to hard work and dedication to the fire service in Mexico Beach, firefighter Hunt has been acting as engineer in his shift for the last, 4 months? Even possibly longer?
8 months.
8 months, there you go. Time flies when you're having fun. And it is now time to basically make him a engineer proper. So he's no longer got his, we're gonna take his floaties off his arms and let him go. So we have his wife here today. She is going to pin him with his new badge. If you want to take off the old one. And then just stick it straight into his chest, right?
Really so, right?
Brian's actually been with us for the last, I'm going to get myself in trouble now, 5 years.
2019.
Yeah, and prior to that was working in the state hospital as a firefighter, so he's been in the service for over 10 years. Here we have a certificate of promotion for him to engineer. Behind it is actually your 10-year service for your 10 years here, and then the other two certificates that I should have given you a while back, but we never got around to it. So they're in here as well. And then here's your engineer's pin, which we'll need to add to that, okay? So, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We need your, some of those good, huh?
Yeah, we gotta get you on Facebook. Come on now. All right, there you go. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Hunt.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
And thank you for putting up with a firefighter for a husband.
10 years?
Oh, man, you were a saint.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely. Thank you.
God bless.
Our next thing on the regular agenda, James Moore, our county service renewal. Mr. Truitt.
If I may, on this, council, I would request that we table this. There's some language that popped up in the actual contract renewal that we need to hammer out before we bring this back for your approval. So I would request tabling it until the next meeting.
When is that renewal due?
They're going to begin the audit process after March 31st, so we have a couple, about a month to go here.
How long would it take? I mean, we're not talking about the next month going again and again and again. I mean,
No.
As long as you're going, the ball's on you.
There's just one sentence. So I make a motion that we table it till the next council meeting.
I'll second it.
Need a vote?
Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes. LDC discussion, put it back in your hands one more time.
Absolutely. I was able to go through all of the suggestions and requests that had been made from staff, residents, P&Z, and put them all together, eliminate the duplicates, and apply the sections and everything. We have a total of 73 items that have been requested to be changed. So that's just kind of the background. The steps from here, the council has a few options. The first option is the one that we have spoken about previously, and that's creating some sort of citizen committee to start prioritizing these and work on suggested language, and then that would come back to us. Another suggestion that has been discussed previously is just having the city council prioritize, change the language, determine what needs to be done, and then give that direction to the planning collaborative, or collective. Collaborative, thank you. And have them do that work. A third option that has recently come up is to involve P&Z in this process. I spoke with the mayor, visited the mayor last night, and this is just me relaying what he has said to the council. He was considering something along the lines of the council taking the lead in this, determining what needs to be done, and then issuing a task order to the P&Z. And I do have, if you wouldn't mind, sir, passing this down. This is an example of the mayor's task order. So what this would look like is the council says, we want to address the tree ordinance, or we want to address food trucks. P&Z, can you please take a look at this particular item, recommend language, and then that would come back. Doing this method with the internal task order gives them concrete direction. It sets the expectations or what the council's looking for, and then it can be done from there. Another option that would kind of work with this as well is there are some things that the building department and city staff have identified as key things that need to be fixed right now. So we're talking about things like the setbacks or something along those lines. So another option might be to give me or the administration the direction to start working on those things immediately, and then do something like either the citizens committee or kicking it to P&Z or what have you. So that's just kind of laying out what your options are. What we're looking for today is a decision from you on how you would like to proceed with that. The decision doesn't necessarily have to be made today. If you want to take some time to think on this, table it to the mayor's back, whatever you would like to do. But that's where we are today.
And what is the time frame that we have to have all this done in?
There really isn't.
Okay,
We're behind where we should be with the revision anyway.
okay. And there's no penalty to us
No.
to extend it.
So,
Well, you go ahead.
no, I'm sorry.
Well, you go ahead.
Would you put up the slide, please? So, to help organize this for my own benefit, put together a slide. There's a copy on your, on the table. It looks like this. So, I built a flow chart. And what I was thinking is similar to what the mayor was, but let's start with what I think our task is. We have to decide, I guess, how we're gonna do this, the process. And I was thinking by major area, or by article or chapter, and then giving it to the P&Z to do with citizen input and staff support, including the planning collective, I guess. I said collaborative.
Collaborative.
It is collaborative?
Collaborative.
Oh, so I got it right. And then it comes back to the council for final review, for approval. And my recommendation is, I agree with the mayor on the task order. It sounds like a good procedure. And then we could focus on some of the major areas. And if you look at this in the center, the big arrow area, I would recommend we start with the zoning issues and take whatever the staff has recommended. We need to break this into biteable chunks because, and that task order will help do that. And then, like I said, P&Z with the building department support, the planning collaborative, the city administrator, and then I would recommend we go to the Florida League of Cities again, like we did with the charter committee, and to get a facilitator for this to help bring that experience and to help moderate this and keep it on track. This way, we could do pieces, and so we can attack and do ordinances for the major pieces of this. And then when we've tackled everything, I recommend giving it to the planning collaborative to make sure we've connected everything, that the wording is correct. It should be participating in that as we do it, but to make it a complete product, review everything as one solid product, bring it back to the council for review, modification, or approval. And so that's what I've laid out here.
Yeah, some of my thoughts on it, I originally talked to Chris a little bit yesterday, and the mayor being out, I thought he should be a big part of this, but Chris has relayed some of the mayor's thoughts, so I originally thought maybe we should table it. But now that the mayor's spoken, I feel like, you know, we have this list that was compiled from the citizens, the P&Z, and from us, but nobody, the P&Z hasn't looked over this list thoroughly either. We just compiled a list. So I think my initial thought is to get it back to P&Z as soon as possible for them to start working with, once again, Alora, and like you said, the building department and the other groups of, let's get this list, like you say, get it narrowed down more, get it, you know, go through each items, because I think when P&Z did there, it was just like us, we just threw out things that we've seen, but there was a lot more that needs to be addressed.
Right. And I believe often we're not good at giving the P&Z guidance on what we want. And I think this idea of the task order and giving them specific areas, putting it into bite-sized chunks would assist them greatly.
So you don't think we should give it to them? I mean, we've kind of got it scaled, you know, as let them, you still think we should dissect it in just chunks and try to take it as that?
Yeah, I'm fine with giving them the list, Jason, but I think I don't know that we have to make a decision today. I think there's still we have to agree on how we're gonna divide this up, and that maybe that could be done with our input to Chris and his staff input and Laura and Greg. And then next council meeting, have a plan set up on how we're gonna dissect this thing so we can attack it. If we agree to the in general process today, then I think we could move forward to that. So we table the actual decision. And what I'm saying is, we agree in concept that's going to go to the P&Z, that we don't need a citizens group, and that we want to do task order, and we'll come back next council meeting to determine how we're going to divide this up into chunks. And we don't have to do everything at once. We could just prioritize what we want them to do first, and then see how that works. And also give the P&Z the opportunity to digest this and maybe come back with a recommendation, some other modifications for us to look at the same time. That's what I would suggest.
Oh, yeah, let me jump in here somewhere.
Yeah, well, the last thing too, and I've been, you know, we were here, I ain't saying we had to make this decision, but we're trying to go get the path, and I definitely want Laura and her company involved, and I've always said, can we go through this? And I say page by page, but a lot of it gets through quickly. So, I mean, I'm still, are we going to spot do this, or are we gonna do the entire LDC?
So,
And I shouldn't be, I'm talking to everybody.
yeah, I have a thought on that, but Jerry, you had something?
Yes, thank you, Tim. Somewhere along the line, I agree with y'all about the sending things to the P&Z board. But if you talk to the building department and some of these contractors, how long, if we do the way y'all want to do, how much longer would it just gonna take? P&Z meets once a month.
And that is a big factor. I don't want this to spill out taking months. Sorry, Jerry.
Thank you. I don't even say much about it because I got it, but to me, we're just kicking the can. We're gonna do it, but we just, I think, my opinion, like the mayor said one time, his 20%. On my opinion, after talking to the people I've talked to, I think we need to, I have items here that need to be done, I'm gonna say immediately. Let's get this done. I think we should give Chris and Laura and the building department, whoever, to get them done first. And then we'll come up with a list with the city council to give to P&Z to hash out. But I want you to understand, when we do that, it's gonna be time consuming.
Yeah, I
It's
think-
another month down the road, it's another 6 weeks down the road, and we just come back and we just keep going and going, and then we're gonna be like we are most of the time, we're gonna be out of time.
So I guess I want to clarify, I think that's what I was saying. We give 2
That's
weeks,
what you said.
we give 2 weeks to the staff and our contract to come up with that list, identify those things we want to attack immediately, and then come back to the council 2 weeks from now, and we make a decision, and then we give that as a priority in a task order to P&Z to handle.
You just have.
Well,
Is that different than what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's pertinent to get the citizens involved because there are citizens that are more knowledgeable of the land development code than any of us in this whole room or any of the people on P&Z, that they know it like the back of their hand. And I think it's pertinent to get them involved from the get-go, not just get all this stuff lined up and then invite them to be part of it. I think we need to think about who knows the most about the land development code. Not everybody in the P&Z is that familiar with the land development code.
So,
But what I was saying is the things that we need done, like the setbacks and the food trucks. I say give Chris and Laura the directions, and let's go ahead and change and get that straightened out first. And then come back with the city, give a list to the P&Z like the mayor, and I'm just saying, to me, the citizens, it got a lot of input, they can get with Chris or, all these right here on these, if we got, most of them come from the citizens.
yeah, so my thought process on the citizen involvement was they would participate with the P&Z meetings. And so we've gotten their input, that's how the list was built. I don't think we want to slow this down with the citizen committee first, I don't think is required. I'm recommending they participate with the P&Z portion. And I understand the urgency on some of these, Jerry, but I want to be careful we don't make decisions too quickly and just having the experts involved without some citizen involvement, and that's where we'd come with giving it back to the P&Z, I think would be a mistake. So I understand what you're saying, but I would rather have the P&Z and the citizens have input to what Laura and Greg and the city administrator and whoever else expertise is to help guide that, not to make a decision based on that alone.
So if I may, speaking on behalf of the mayor, I think his main concern was, excuse me, making sure this process does move forward, and that's why he thought giving the specific direction to P&Z would be his preferred course of action, so that the council can kind of guide how that process goes. Speaking as putting on my city administrator hat, there are things that my request of you would be allow us to get those immediate things fixed, like Mr. Smith was saying. We can come back to the council in a couple of weeks or next month, whatever you decide with the things that we feel need to be changed right away, and we should be able to actually have the suggested changes for your review as well. And then with the rest of the stuff, go to whatever procedure you would like.
But by doing, I get that, but by sending it to P and Z, just for, that allows the citizens even a little more, you know, input there without the committee, you know, we've already had 2 workshops, but
Yeah.
it does. But yeah, I think let's target, I think we're on this, it seems to me like we're hearing that we're targeting the main issues. So some of the core stuff, let's get them out, because it is about moving forward here, you know, getting this thing and not wasting more valuable time.
You get citizen comment.
Oh, well, we got to give some direction. You know, we all got different ideas. I mean, the 3 things, the committee, the P and Z, and then the council goes to P and Z, or the task force to P and Z. Or with me, I would like for us to come up with these things that need to be addressed as soon as possible, because the builders and I don't want to slow down none of that. We need to keep going, but I think we need to get that to him, and let him and Laura go ahead and get that done, and then also turn in things to our P and Z board at the next meeting, and that's not 20%. What you got?
No, I feel like I'm hearing that we're pretty much on the same page.
No,
That's
I
what I'm
think-
hearing, even from Jerry, you're saying get these items.
They got to be fixed.
Yes.
These setbacks, they got, it just,
I think what Jerry, so forgive me if I state this wrong, but I think what Jerry is advocating is there's a pile of things we need to address immediately, and that the staff addresses those and comes back to the next council meeting or pretty quick with those recommendations, and then we go forward with the ordinance changes. And then whatever's left over, we give to the P and Z. Is that what you're
in
saying?
groups, and you can't just give it all to them, you have to give it in like
The
5.
initial.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
priority-
the initial group we should give, sorry to interrupt you, Tim, I thought you were saying we
I
could give
thought-
that to P and Z and let them,
Well, you gave you 6 weeks. I know 6 weeks is not long to y'all, but
yeah.
if something runs in, here we go again. So I believe the initial things that need to be done, that Laura and Chris. That's just my opinion. Because these things has just been, we've been kicking them around and we're not getting anything done about it. I think we need to address these as soon as we can, the council does, and get it straightened out.
Do we have a tentative list, Chris, of those things?
That's what I was just kind of looking through right now, so we can put some actual concepts behind them. We have the setbacks, which we're already in the process of doing, for the
townhouse.
for the townhome district. Yep. We have, adding requirements for culverts, including specifications for driveway construction and repair. Greg and Alara, do you have, I don't want to speak for you, do you have hot button issues that we want to touch on right away?
You have the list of things we can file. I do know that we were, if I'm not wrong, a couple meetings ago, we were almost ready to handle the setback, the townhome setback thing, but we tabled it so we can discuss this a little further. So that makes sense to me. If we've got projects or we've got things that we've already addressed that we're in the process, we're almost already done with, we can expedite those pretty quick without bogging them down, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And then, like, I agree with everything else everybody's saying. And then from there, since those are already in the works, we shouldn't be too hard to wrap those up and move from there. But no, you have all the issues that I have.
Okay.
Laura, do you have any?
So we can certainly easily work in increments if that's the pleasure of the council. But it does take time to write code. It's not gonna be done in 2 weeks. So we just need to factor in the time that it takes us to write the code and do some research for best practices and what fits for Mexico Beach also. because it is a legal binding document, we want to be careful about the words that we choose and how we write it and how it can be possibly interpreted. We want to make it clear and concise. But I think right now, I think our biggest issue is how we're moving through the development order processes. And we need to really, I think that's a high priority for us also.
So basically driveways, setbacks, and development order process.
And so some of what you're mentioning too, Chris, regarding culvert pipe sizes, we're gonna need to get engineers
be, yeah.
input on, because that's the stormwater issue that I don't have that expertise for.
Did you have any on the list, Jerry?
Oh, I give mine to Chris.
Okay.
So we wanna take 2 weeks to get the few items, I mean, we're sitting here looking at just one or two, but I'm sure there's more that we wanna address in 2 weeks.
There's a few on here. I can come back to the city council in 2 weeks and say these are the things we've identified. Can we have your permission to move forward? If that's
Can
appropriate.
I do it now?
Oh, no.
Just, procedures. But I understand how this is gonna go, and she hit nail on the head. You just don't do it overnight. So here we go. Time, and more time.
Well, that's what
Some of these things, I don't wanna rush into it, but some of these things have been sitting on this board for, I'm gonna say forever, but for a long time need to be addressed.
No, I'm agreeing to that, but that's part of what I was trying to get to. The sooner we get this, not just those items, even the rest of it in P and Z's hands, or however we're gonna move in that, there's nothing to say that we can't take these few items at the next meeting and start that little process, and even right here say, we're sending these others, we're gonna group them in
Yeah.
categories and get them there, instead of waiting.
That's right, I agree with
You
you.
know, I am in agreement of, you know.
And just to remind the council, it took us 15 months to get through the comprehensive plan, and this is the land development code is a much more detailed document, so just put that into perspective.
Okay.
So
we do need to get the few addressed, like you know.
So what about this as a compromise? And
Compromise.
yes, a compromise. So we take the 3 items that have been discussed here that are priority, and we task Chris to work on those immediately, start working those. And then at the next council meeting, we get a list of recommendations from the staff of the remaining things that we want to put in task order, and we start with the P and Z. We give those to the P and Z by task order, and that I think accomplishes what we're talking about. And we have a meeting before the next P and Z, right? Or do we? What's the date?
Yeah, we got one.
So we have a meeting so we can make that decision, and then hand it to the P and Z. Would have a meeting at the beginning of February, and they can start working that task order or task orders, whatever we've come up with, and we'll see how this process works. If we want to modify it, we can, and we can make a decision on the final review of it as one document to see how it goes. That would at least get us started in the timing, and I believe, I don't know if that satisfies the citizen involvement with the P and Z. Citizens will have an opportunity to comment when we do the ordinance review. So that's my recommendation.
I would like for Lisa to be able to speak.
This is a discussion.
Okay.
I know.
But when are we gonna get to the citizen comments,
We-
Jerry?
I read it. We'll all get in. This is a record. No,
What'd you have to say, Lisa?
no, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Jerry, why
No,
can't
no,
you?
ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We've got, I've been here 6 years, Ms. Hamilton.
Well, I'm glad you have.
I am, but if you start this, we're not doing it. I'm sorry.
That's citizen input, they have a right to that.
And citizen comments, they can put out their input.
But we're on the subject right now.
You want to make a motion for that?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we allow the citizens to speak on this particular matter at this time.
Before you do that, can we do that?
Well, you're the chair of the meeting, you're controlling the meeting.
Yes.
I don't know that there's anything to prohibit that, but you're in control of the meeting, so.
So what's the answer, yes or no?
Well, again, you're a council, you can make a motion if you want to. And I suppose the chair would have to abide by your motion.
I second the motion.
We can take a vote now. In a second.
Okay, Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
No. Ms. Logan?
Lisa Logan. Y'all don't remember, because none of you were there, when the citizens completed the last complete review of the LDR, along with the review of the comprehensive plan, but the LDR, it was a give and take, back and forth, dialogue and conversation and discussion with the P&Z board sitting at the table and the citizens in the audience, and it was a pure conversation back and forth. We went through the LDR article by article, section by section. We started on page 1 and went through the entire thing. This is not something that can be done in a matter of weeks. It took us months to do, just like it took us months to get through the comp plan. And if you start jumping around, you're going to screw yourselves up, because it all has to flow together. If you don't take it from start to end, section by section, you're going to have to go back multiple times and match this one with what was up here that you didn't do in the first place. This is the citizens' document, and there is no conceivable scenario in which the citizens should be cut out of deciding what our town looks like and what we can do with our town in terms of building. It is our town, our document, and we have every right to use our own expertise, of which we have many experts in this town among the citizens, to put this document together. And you are attempting to cut the citizens out. That is unacceptable. You are trying to do this in a few weeks. That won't work. Why don't you learn from what we did in the past, and we were successful? So the citizens have already proven that they know how to do this. The citizens, along with the Planning and Zoning Board, are perfectly capable of going through this document, and then it can be reviewed by the city planner and then the city council, and changes can be made at that point. But you do not cut the citizens out, and you do not rush through this. And if you had been there in 2008 and 9, you'd know this.
Ms. Logan, I do have to speak on that. One, I don't feel like we've said we're cutting the citizens out here. From what I've heard, that we have a few items that we want to go ahead and address quickly. And I'm 100% for, that's why I say, we send it to the P&Z, we get a lawyer, we get all the citizens at the meetings and start going through this. It's not, we've said here, we know this is not going to take 2 or 3 weeks or a month I mean, she just said. And we're not trying to do that. I think what was brought up at the table was to address the few needed immediate items. And I thought that's where we were sitting. Now, you've come up and said what you've said. I just wanted to put my view of what I'm hearing. I thought at the table, we had a few things. Let's get them immediately, and then let's get this thing in P&Z. And you've heard me over and over. I'm only 20%. I think we should go through the document.
Thank you for your comments. I hear what you're saying. If you cherry pick what you're doing, it's not going to work very well, because it all ties together. I do not understand why there is such a rush to get certain things done at this point, but that's my opinion. It's going to take time to go through this. It's going to take time to sort it out, and it's all interrelated.
Chair, is anybody else?
All right.
Lorene Lindsay, Florida Avenue. The one thing that I think that we need to say in this meeting, and the last few comments have brought it up, and this is an important aspect of what we're talking about here, and that is the comprehensive plan must be the basis for the LDC. The comprehensive plan is established and approved by the state. We can't change that without going through the state. So one of the things that is crucial to this process is that everybody understand that the LDC is to support the comprehensive plan. And that's what we really need to concentrate on. I have no problem cleaning up these things. I know, these little details are in there that we can clean up easily. But the reason for going through the LDC is to make sure that we are, in fact, dealing with what's laid out in the comp plan. And that's crucial. That's all I want to say.
John Harrell, 43 First Street, or as Chris says, the first house in Bay County. To address Mr. Smith's concern about time, if we turn it over to P&Z, is there anything that says they can't meet more than once a month to expedite this so we can get to these things? Is there any, they do work at the direction of the council, so if they meet just once a month, that's going to delay it, but if they can meet like the charter review more often, that will also give the citizens more time to put input with this situation, which I think would kind of help solve everybody's concerns. So it's just a suggestion, so thank you all for listening to us.
So, Jerry, since you've been here the longest, do you know of any time that the P&Z did meet more than they are currently meeting?
I don't think that has much to do with this, Ms. Hamilton.
I'm just asking you a question.
Yes, ma'am, I'm glad you asked.
You have an answer?
Oh, yes. No comment.
Okay.
You want to close citizen comments?
So,
Would you like to close citizen comments?
y'all woke you and three opened it up, so I already got to close it.
You're the chair of those, sir.
I got out ruled. So do you want to close it? Ms. Hamilton?
You're in charge, Jerry.
Mr. Lincoln?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? You want to close? Okay. All right, now. Did we ever come up with what we're gonna do? And one thing that they said about the time limit, Laura, it's not just the citizens' comments and the P&Z. She can explain what they have to go through by the I mean, that's the time, it's not what the P&Z can do. You can ask her and she can, it won't be in 6 weeks on anything probably.
So I'll attempt to address the issues that were brought up. I don't think we're limiting citizen input by them attending the P&Z meetings to provide their input. So I still don't believe we need a separate citizen committee. The timing of it, there are some critical issues that we need to address, and I believe, as we already discussed, setting those aside for the staff to come back with recommendations, identifying those by the next council meeting is the right path. I think it's clear that the comp plan is the guide for this, and thank you for reminding us of that. But I think the P&Z recognizes that, and so do we. And then the P&Z meeting more than once a month, I think that's doable. We would have to talk with the members of the P and Z and see if that works for them, if their schedule is available. We have 2 members of the P and Z here today. They can't speak for the entire P and Z, but so I think that's how we address that. But I still recommend we tackle those priority things that have been mentioned, and perhaps there's more when Chris gets looking at it, and we discuss those at the next council meeting. But in the meantime, the staff goes forward to see what they can accomplish towards that. And then the remaining items, we ask for prioritization by the city administrator, who briefs the council the next council meeting, and that we give those to the P and Z in a task order by what we think the priority remaining items is. And once we've done this by all these items, we checked it all off, then I believe we give it to the planning collaborative, all these, to make sure we've gone through each item. And if it looks like we need to go back chapter by chapter and review it again with the P and Z, then we can do that. I recommend we take a look at and see how that's working, whether we need to do it or not. I do have concern about missing items, and that's why I think it's important to keep the planning collaborative and the building department involved in this.
So I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion that we move forward with compiling the most critical issues that need to be addressed before the next council meeting. And we get those in here, we review them, and we can send those to P and Z. And also, at that meeting, I think we should take the other items and have them already categorized, so we can start getting them to the P and Z also. And discuss at the next meeting, maybe carrying this out, about the P and Z meeting more than once a month. Is that fair enough?
And I second the motion.
And we're still not going to things that's urgent.
No, that was my motion, to come up with the most urgent items, the most critical items before the next council meeting. Bring them back before the next council meeting, at the council meeting. We review it, and we give, if that's our
Let's
list.
prioritize the list and get the P and Z.
Mhm.
That's what you thinking?
It's a suggestion, yeah.
Your suggestion is?
Do I know what a suggestion
No,
is?
ma'am. And you're suggesting, that's.
Well, we got a motion and we got a second.
Yeah.
And procedurally, you could request a modification if there's something else you're thinking of adding to it.
We got a motion in a second on the table. Did we?
Yes, sir.
Does anyone want to modify that motion?
Nobody has stated that, so.
All right.
This is the one that made the motion now. He's got.
Is the discussion complete? Anybody else have anything to add?
Did you second the motion?
I did.
Mahal. Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
I say no.
Mr. Smith.
Yes. Okay. You got that, Chris?
Yes,
You know
sir.
what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do?
Yes, sir.
To find out for sure, financial report, you and Mr. Mike's up.
All right, Mr. Snyder, it's your show. I'm kidding.
You did good.
If you take a look at the financial report, this is the same financial report that Mel used to put together. The way to look at this report is just kind of a big picture overview of where our financial operations stand. So the top half of the first page is revenues, the money we're getting in, and below that are the expenditures. The way I look at this particular report, revenues I don't really pay much attention to. We don't have control over that. For example, the ad valorem taxes, we've already received almost $400,000 this year. We typically wouldn't receive much until the end of the year when property taxes come through. So there's really nothing controllable there. I do look for some outliers, for example, fines and forfeitures. we're up to 31.9% of our total budgeted amount has been received so far this year. But that's nothing that we really control. What we do control is the next section of total revenues. So this report is for December. We've been through about 25% of the year. So I would anticipate most of the expenditures to be in that 25% range. So for example, on elected officials, we've spent about 24% of our budget for about 25% of the year, so that's normal, that's okay. We're a little bit high in city clerk, but there's explanations for that, as well as city administrator, we're a little bit high. There's also explanations for that. The things that keep me up at night or that give me heartburn are things like development services. You see that we've come in at 258.26% of the year so far. That's a huge red flag for me. So I went to Mr. Snyder and asked him if he could do some digging on that. He was able to go back through the actual financials and find that some expenses coded to AvCon were actually supposed to be for last fiscal.
Yeah, and when they complete the December bank reconciliations and journal entries, all those costs will float back into the 24 year. That'll give us about $240,000 added, put back on that side. So we'll be on the plus side.
Yeah, well, we're back in the normal. The other way I use this as we look at things like the fire department or code enforcement or general maintenance, if we have big needs that are coming up, we now have to replace an entire water line across whatever this is here that just broke last night. Or the fire chief's truck needs a $6,000 transmission job. I look to see if we have those funds available in the budget or if we're getting close to where we aren't going to have anything left to spend. In each of your boxes every month, we're going to include all the backup for this. If you want to look at it, you're more than welcome to. Mr. Snyder can explain where those numbers come from and what they look like. That's a lot of work. That's why I just kind of rely on this overview for everything. So with that said, we're roughly exactly where I would expect us to be at this point in the year with expenditures and revenues. There's nothing other than what I mentioned about development. There's nothing that's throwing up red flags. We're significantly underspent in some areas, so we do have some headroom and some additional things that we can take on. That's my spiel on that. Are there any questions I can answer for you on that? I know this is the first one since I've been here. Okay. And for the public, this will be posted on the Budget and Financials webpage, so you can all view this at any time. I don't think we're going to include the backup because that's an entire ream of individual financials. But if that's information you want, let us know. We'll be happy to get it to you. Thank you, sir.
Anybody got any questions for him? Our next one is we evaluate the city map form. I think it says it all right here, wants a $2,000 raise, and it says to the city be here.
So a little background on this, the contract, I included the language in there. The contract states that after a successful 3-month evaluation, there's a $2,000 pay raise involved. The evaluations all came back successful. I was rated a mostly exceeds or exceptional with some meets in there, so it's kind of right in that range. And then I know the mayor and Ms. Hamilton had actually mentioned about allowing the city administrator a take-home vehicle. Just some background on that. The department heads all have their own. I'm not sure. In the contract, it specifies the manager can't, and I'm not sure what precipitated that. But I did ask, after hearing from Ms. Hamilton and Mr. Wolf, I did ask the attorney to drop an addendum that covers that, if that's something that you choose to do. That's all I have for the background on it.
Well,
The call vehicle, I know that was you, I think.
I think the city administrator would have more of a need to have emergency reasons to come back to the city than maybe some of the other department heads would. And that is allowed for other department heads that are probably not really having to come on the weekend or at night. So, I think we should rethink that and, you know, possibly consider that as an option for you.
I agree with you. I just think he needs a vehicle. And plus, he don't live, he's in the Port St. Joe, he don't live that far. That's my opinion too.
I tried, sir. I tried to get here.
No, I'm good.
You good?
I just knew we had talked about this and there was a big, not to bring it back up, but it was
Yes.
there was a lot of discussion about that, but I'm perfectly fine with you taking the vehicle.
Do you need a motion?
I'm questioning the attorney. So if we agree in principle to the vehicle, would you come back with the actual wording? Because it's,
Yes, sir. I've already,
We have it.
prepared a draft, in anticipation of your decision, so, the city administrator has it.
because there are things like, it's for work only, and, so there'd be limitations on the use, and that's in this.
Well, I didn't limit it because he lives here and he's coming back and forth. I can limit it if you want me to go further. That's up to you.
So Tim, what are the other limitations to the other department heads? I mean, like, they can't
Well,
drive other people
I'm
around
only-
in the car? things
I've
like
only
that.
worked on a contract for the city administrator. I've not worked on anything for any department head, so I don't know if they have any contracts, do they?
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's very vague, and the general gist of all those conversations is it's up to the city administrator to decide. There isn't anything in the handbook that says employees can't use it for personal work, but it's up to the city administrator, and from my perspective, if you have a city vehicle, you're only using that for city work or going back and forth to work.
Needs to be stated.
If conceptually you're okay with that, then I'll bring it back with that one extra limitation, and then y'all can consider it at the next meeting. I think that the raise part, that's already in there. So if you would, consider a motion that would confirm the raise and then bring back the amendment, at the next meeting.
Right.
And he can go ahead and be driving his vehicle, we all sort of agree to it until then. Maybe,
Well, technically, we should have the contract amended.
What we could do to that, if the council wishes, and correct me if I'm wrong, they can say to approve the amendment provided the language limiting use to business only is
They
included.
can, and conceptually, they can approve it. At this point, the real question is just insurance.
Yep, exactly.
If you're insured by the city policy, that would be the biggest issue.
Yep.
So that the city's not hanging out and you run over somebody.
So it sounds like we could motion to approve it now,
And
and then
then
come back
I'll
with the
just
contract, and we can.
Bring it back for the actual language.
Right, and modify it if needed at that point.
Correct. Or you could even conceptually approve it and authorize the mayor to sign it, with the language as you lived it.
Right, so I don't wanna lose track of the salary. If there is any more discussion, I'll like make that motion about the vehicle. So, anything else? So I'll make a motion that we authorize the city administrator a vehicle, to be outlined in the contract presented to us next week, but he's authorized at this point.
I'll second.
and we did put the money in there too, didn't you? Did you say that? Do we have to put that in there?
That's a separate motion.
Okay.
That's in the contract.
Okay. Anybody second, Ms.
I'll
Hamilton?
second
Oh,
it.
Tammy?
Mr. Linderman?
Yes?
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you
All right,
very much,
and then-
council.
I'll also make a motion that we approve the raise of $2,000 in salary for the city administrator, and related, plus related taxes and FRS expenditures.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Linderman?
Yes?
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. Okay.
If I may not on the agenda, but I just wanted to say thank you. The past 3 months have been absolutely phenomenal. This is a great community. I was sharing with, I think I was sharing with Mrs. Hamilton, this feels like it's a good fit for Mexico Beach, and I know it feels like a great fit for me. So thank you, I appreciate this.
Citizen comment. Bob, I know you got something. We'll close the council.
Would you put up that slide, please? So what I'm gonna present, you know I've been working with Chris on some of the FEMA projects, and what I wanna do is give you, I'll show you a high-level example of this process we're going through with the pier and the municipal building. Can you make that bigger?
No,
Thank you.
just 1 second.
All right.
Takes a second to load.
So this is the FEMA process for a public assistance grant, which the pier and the municipal building are currently involved. And both of those projects, you see the red circle there under scoping and costing phase 3. That's currently where we're at. And you can see how much is left to do. I know many people have asked why this has taken so long. Well, I can tell you, having attended several of these meetings, it's a very bureaucratic process. And I think Chris and I are working to streamline it considerably, and I think we're making some progress. And I'll tell you that Atkins, I think, is doing a good job. And now that I think there's more attention by the city representation, things are getting more priority. All right, next slide, please. So in this slide, this is the same, but I wanted to show you a breakout of the current status. So if you look on the far right on top here, I think this is done though, right, the RFP? So our engineer, so here's, under the cost development for the pier, our engineer is preparing the RFP to present back to FEMA for actual cost versus what was designated, and then FEMA will review that. What I want to point out is the current cost for this project was based on an estimate about 10 years ago for the, I think, a Panama City pier. So it's really outdated. And so our next challenge will be to get FEMA to agree to that cost increase. And the other piece I want to point out to everybody that I didn't realize is we're doing the RFP based on the original footprint of the pier and adding 200 feet, pushing it out further for fishing capability. If we go with the 200 feet option, I think the city will have to pay for that. I don't know that FEMA will. And I don't know that we've talked about that or thought about it, but I just want to make it transparent that there's an additional cost possibly there to do that. And then on the pier, the other thing that's taken place, the last of the compliance reviews. You see compliance reviews? This spokes out into several federal and state agencies. The FWC, DEP, it's currently in a biological review with the National Fisheries and Wildlife Service. And the person who's working this met with the city Monday and had some final questions before he turns his packet in. There are 3 more major steps to this process, and they told us it won't be done in a month, but it won't take a year. So I'm gonna guess 6 to 9 months maybe, and that'll be done. Once that's done, then it has to go to the Army Corps of Engineers for their permit. And so there's another time limit there. And the other thing I want to point out to you is very few of these agencies have a time limit or suspense on them. And it's not that when we get in the queue to go to the next step, it's not based on when we started this process. It's based when we got our packet to the next step. So it is very bureaucratic and time consuming. And the other thing I want to point out is, anytime we make even a minor change, it may require us to go back to phase 1 or 2 and start over again. So I believe we should be careful when we make decisions to make changes, or when we submit something, that it's what we want, because if we have to go back, it could be painful. And we've already had at least one instance with the pier where we had to start over again with the restrooms on top of the pier versus at the base. So I just bring that up. And the other point of that is, I believe we have submitted for the pier the additional 200 feet, even though we're doing an RFP for both. But that's what we submitted to FEMA. So if we decide we can't afford that or don't want to pay for that, we might have to step back again for the original footprint. That doesn't mean it should be an issue, it's just going to be time consuming because it has to go back to those agencies. So that's the pier. Once those two things are done, then we should be able to move to the next phase and actually get the final project review and move forward. But I will tell you, the costing of this is going to be the major hurdle to get there. The next one is the fire and police municipal building. So that is currently still in environmental review, but I don't anticipate any issues, but it's still time consuming. Where the real issue is FEMA denied our cost and justification. And I can't remember, it was on the first, we submitted a appeal to that process. And so let me explain that to you. About 2 months ago, we were told by FEMA that that was disapproved, so we had 60 days. And Atkins prepared the appeal.
They denied the moving it.
Oh, okay, so let me clarify that. So what was denied was the cost to move the municipal building, the Civic Center, to the property north of the current City Hall. So what our appeal was for is we've appealed for two things. We've appealed the cost that they estimated the replacement in the original location is insufficient. And we've also asked for them to re-examine moving it because the cost equals what we think would be building it in place because of all the mitigation required for stormwater and that sort of thing. So that's been submitted. Now here's where it gets bureaucratic again. First it goes to the state. They have 60 days to review it and give us input. And then we'll give it to FEMA. And then FEMA has no deadline. And they'll come back and either modify their cost, and I think we have a chance of getting those costs increased, or that amount increased. I don't know if it'll be a sufficient amount to pay for moving it to the new municipal area that we have designed. So we may have to make a decision at some point whether we want to move it and pay the additional cost or try and mitigate it in place. But either one, I don't think they're going to pay the entire cost at this point. And again, so this goes back to cost, and it's going to take a lot of work to get it. So that's where we're at with that. And once we agree on the cost and the environmental's done, just like the pier, it'll go to the next step for FEMA final approval. Questions from the table?
You forgot about the Indian.
About the what?
Indian, remember that was on there?
So
They had to go before some tribe.
that's a different project. Yeah, that's a different project. And so if you skip a step, if you decide you want to make a change, and we've run into this before, we've not gone back and got some permission, we could get denied that money. So the way grants work normally, I think everybody probably realizes this, but you pay up front. The city pays up front for that. And we might get paid back in a portion as we satisfy that requirement. But they can always come back and say, nope, you didn't dot that I and cross that T, and we're not going to give you that money, and we have to go back and fight for it. So it's very important that we do take the appropriate amount of time to make sure we've done this correctly. So I know, I can't speak to what took place several years ago in this process. But I can tell you, I feel pretty confident that we're making progress on the pier in the municipal building, and we're doing the right things. I think we have the city administrator who's very involved in this and is doing a great job. And I will tell you, our contract team with Atkins, I think they're doing a good job. And I think the FEMA representatives understand we're paying attention to this now, and maybe we didn't do that good of a job with that in the past, but I think it's pretty clear. So I'm open to questions if the table doesn't have any, if you want to let citizens ask questions, but that's up to you, Chair.
No. This is the period. It'd be at least 2 years. That's what you said in the shortfall of the 16 months and the.
I'd say it's at least 2 years before we break ground.
The
Yes.
only question I had, you mentioned the 200 feet.
Mhm.
So we know this pier, we don't know, we've heard, it's pretty set that it's gonna be a lot more than we ever thought. So you said any changes? So do we go ahead and pull the 200 feet because we know that pier is going to come in? You know, first it was 10 million, now we're looking at 20 plus, or some numbers I'm just hearing at the
I almost think it's too late to do
So
that.
just let it go through with the 200 feet. So you're
So-
also saying that we need to be prepared, because we don't want to go backwards. If we went backwards on the 200 feet and said we're gonna pull that out and not pay for it, you're saying FEMA's gonna make us start the process, maybe not totally over, but
Yeah,
we'll lose a few.
so Jason, I believe the decision was made, and I don't know by who, if it was the council or in somewhere in the staffing, to add the 200 feet. And it was a recommendation by DEP to do that, because where the pier would have ended up in the original footprint wasn't considered deep enough to be a fishing pier. What that has to do with anything, I don't know. So moving it 200 feet, and it's not necessarily by adding to the pier going this way, it's a ramp for handicap, it's some extensions, but it gets it out further into deeper water, I'm told. I've heard people tell me, no, that's not true, but anyway, I believe we've already submitted for the 200 feet, but we are preparing an RFP for both cases. If we decide not to go with the 200 feet, yes, I believe even though we have an RFP, we will still have to step back and get reapproval for that footprint. This is the worst case footprint, so it shouldn't be approval issue, it'll be time consuming because each agency will be able to go back. If we don't do that, then we could not get the funding approved for even the original footprint. So I guess in my mind, I don't know what the extra 200 feet is going to cost, but it's probably worth it so we don't slow this down and we get it further out. But we'll make that decision down the road.
That's just my question, I just want to be sure.
The other feet get up past the sand.
Yeah, well, I'm for it.
It's deeper, but I'm on the side. We did get stopped because of the bathroom, but I blame FEMA and Dana and them for doing that. We put in for it, and when we put in for it, got to level 2, they said you can't put a bathroom on the pier.
Well, and
All the way back.
and I'm sorry, I believe a lot of the issues we've had has been the turmoil we've suffered. And you got a good man in position right now who's asking the right questions. And so I don't think we're gonna be subject to some of the issues we might not ask all the right questions. And it's difficult. When we were talking with Dina and Ryan the other day, I said, so what's next after what we talked about? And I was told, that's it. And I said, you sure, that's everything? And I said, FWC, DEP, that's all done. He said, well, the Corps has to still approve it. I'm like, okay, so there is something next. And it's not that Ryan and Dina aren't very expert in this. There's a lot to it, and I'm sure they do it day to day, so they don't think about the things that we don't think about. But I have found that Chris is asking the right kinds of questions and put the attention of this, and I think we're starting to move forward like we should have been maybe, in past times. But it's moving forward, but it just takes a while to get everything through. Okay. And one last thing I'll say, I am not an expert in this. I'm sure learning a lot, but I think we have a good team that's working our FEMA projects, and I'm happy to update the council every few weeks on what's going on so the citizens know, and Chris will make note of things in his projects list, so you should be aware. Okay.
I'm grateful for the time and effort you put into all this, and tremendous help.
I got we just wanted to, put our Mary in our prayers, plus Tommy Davis, he's sick. Maybe he'll come back tomorrow, one day this week, he's out sick with the crud, what he said, he's been out 4 days, he's pretty sick. But I'd like to commend him yesterday, his group in the stormwater. I found 14 places and they was out there working on the land yesterday in the rain and this morning, so we're gonna knock them out little by little. All right, staff.
Excuse me. If I can jump in, I do have a comment to read from the mayor, if that's all right. This is in regards to the JLAC, or Joint Legislative Audit Committee audit. That is now complete. So the mayor's statement, we were audited by JLAC, which is the Auditor General of the state of Florida, at the request of the City Council. It was an operational audit, and it took somewhere between 9 months and a year to fully complete. Our Mexico Beach staff worked a lot of hours collecting the requested information, phone calls, emailing back and forth, along with still doing the daily operation of Mexico Beach. There were allegations flying through the city, and some of our vendors, as well as many of our employees, were attacked personally and professionally. We apologize to those affected by these very loose allegations that have or had no merit, or as some people may say, there was just no there, and it was verified by these audit findings. The desire of our council, our city administrator, finance director, and city staff and employees will always continue to be accountable and transparent. Everything that we do is a public record. Accountability and transparency are a staple in Mexico Beach City Hall, and that is a fact. The question comes up, what should citizens know? The answer is everything. There are 9 audit findings and recommendations, and they will be posted on the city website this afternoon, along with our 52-page response. You will see that the 9 findings range from management turnover to a duplicate payment. JLAC had absolutely no reason to blame or reprimand anyone. It was their goal to only point out non-conformance or non-compliance of items, and they did. And that is the mayor's statement. Staff, I'll open it up to anyone. City administrator, if the staff doesn't have anything, I just have some shameless plugs of what's been going on. When I interviewed for this position, it was clear that communication was a significant challenge, or had been a significant challenge. I want to make sure that the council, the employees, and the residents have as much or as little information as they want. So what I have done, I've actually done several things. First of all, on the website, under the government menu, I now have the administrator's weekly update. That's just a quick look at some of the things that either took place last week or are coming up this week, just to keep everybody in the know. We've covered everything. For example, this week was all about the finances, explaining how to read the budget. I've done minor project updates in the past. I've done announcements like the kayak launch, the dumpster over at the boat ramp, things like that. So it's just a quick rundown of some of the things that are happening in the city. The other thing I want to draw attention to is the new projects tab on the website. If you click into that, that's actually going to give you links to what I maintain as the project updates. So I have a PDF listed with every project that we have, And then every 2 weeks, I go in and update what is happening with that particular project. Some weeks, the update is there is no update because we haven't had any movement. Other weeks, we see things moving back and forth. So it's available on the website. Feel free to click on it anytime. And then the third thing that I've done to increase communication is a weekly update sent to all city council members as well as the staff. That's more of the internal things that the public really probably wouldn't be all that interested in. If it is something the public's interested in, I get it on the administrators weekly. So if there are things, the reason I bring all this up is if there are things that you have questions on, want more information on, please reach out and let me know. We're happy to fill you in on absolutely everything. And then I also wanted to echo the mayor's sentiment on the JLAC audit. The Mexico Beach staff did an absolutely phenomenal job working under pretty bad conditions to provide all the information that JLAC needed and as quickly as I needed it. I honestly can't imagine going through all that. They did a phenomenal job. The folks doing the audit have reached out and said how much they appreciated all of our staff for their efforts as part of this. So I just want to publicly say thank you. You guys went through a whole heck of a lot. You put up with a lot of abuse. And this is where we ended up with a JLOC audit saying, rock and roll, here are a few things, and that's it. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Tina,
No, sir.
I got a couple. How about my ordinance on the beach dune and my peddlers ordinance?
Yes, sir.
What are we waiting on with the bridge on 15th Street?
I can speak to all of those. I asked our attorney to prepare the peddlers ordinance and the no walking on dunes ordinance for the February meeting. So those will be coming before you then. The 15th Street, is it officially today? We got the information back from the engineers on the request for proposal, and that's been posted today for bid.
We going forward.
We are going forward. It includes the request includes the bridge itself, and then connecting to the 2 sidewalks on either side, so we're going to lay some concrete there.
Tammy, you and Julie got something? You always got something.
Is it?
Julie's talking to City
Go ahead.
Manager right now.
Grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I forgot about it.
Sorry, I just saw the pictures, I was like, did you want to
Yeah,
show?
it's something to see. If y'all, if the citizens hadn't seen this is really gonna be something nice.
I thought you were saying crushed rock, and I couldn't figure out
That's close enough.
what the heck we were talking about. The mayor and I met with a couple of folks last week talking about the new grocery store. It's officially going to be the Seaside Marketplace, and it is going in next to Mango Marley's. We don't have a time frame on this yet. It's still in the design phase, but it's a pretty nice looking building. It's going to sit about 10 feet higher than Mango Marley's. Still within a required height, of course. But we're really excited to get a grocery store back in the city.
Yes.
It won't be the Piglet, it'll be Seaside.
Yeah, Piglet. I like that. I might mention that to them. You have the pig in PSJ and the Piglet in Mexico Beach. But this is all early stages, of course. The plans are they will still have. I mean, they're going to be a grocery store, and they are still planning on having some of the, I think they call it seasonal stuff. So like the beach pails and towels and things like that. But we're really excited. We're excited for the grocery store for the residents, but we're also excited to see that lot look a little nicer than it does right now.
Tammy, do you have something?
Just a reminder that it's time to get your golf cart permit and your boat rental permits. January is the month, so it's time to renew that.
I have to get pulled over by the sheriff before I get mine. It always happens. I forget. Did anybody got something? Judy, you had something?
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yep.